Today we are going to be talking about how to meet new people. This is a very important skill for your dog to learn, especially if they're on the extreme ends of the emotional spectrum. Some dogs are fearful and might actually react aggressively, while other dogs might just be super overly excited, leading to intrusive over-arousal. For these dogs, the key is to always start with neutrality, even when it comes to people who may already be in their lives and need to interact with them regularly.
Yeah, exactly. One of the first things to keep in mind is that there's a big difference between strangers and the people your dog already knows. So we're talking about that small group of people your dog already knows. And for dogs that are fearful or overly aroused, the first priority is to help them feel comfortable in the presence of anyone, whether it's a friend, a family member, or a new person entering the home.
Right. If a new person enters the home or comes into the dog's space and immediately tries to force an interaction, it can really make things worse, even if their intentions are loving. For a fearful dog, this could cause them to lash out aggressively out of fear, or for an overly excited dog, it may lead to jumping, peeing, or just an overwhelming energy for that person. In both cases, the key is to give the dog ample time and space to assess and get comfortable at their own pace.
Yeah, and the first thing we want to focus on is that word of neutrality. So when a new person enters, allow your dog to observe and process the situation from a distance, ideally where the dog's in an obedience position. So this is where place training comes in. So from the boundary of their place, your dog does not feel overwhelmed by that new person coming into their space. That new person is not allowed to go into your dog's personal boundaries. And the goal is for your dog to remain calm and relaxed and settle in and get back towards that baseline before any interaction happens.
Now, once your dog's body language starts to show signs of relaxation, you can then use the obedience foundation they've learned with us to bridge the gap between your dog and the new person. Think of obedience as like a handshake or an introductory cup of coffee. It creates a productive and clear interaction that sets the expectations for both the dog and the person.
That's right. And so for an insecure dog, meeting a new person should feel safe and structured and not overwhelming. So obedience commands give them the clarity that they need to understand how to behave around someone new. It's the language that we use to bridge that gap of the unknown. And so for an excited dog, obedience will help set the tone. It lets your dog know that there's an appropriate way to interact with this new person rather than jumping, barking, or getting overly aroused.
Now, over time, this process helps build a relationship of mutual respect and trust between your dog and the new person. Just like your relationship with your dog is built on obedience, leadership, and consistency, the same will happen with others. It's a gradual process where the dog learns to respect the new person and the new person learns how to communicate with your dog.
And here's an important tip. If that new person can use the leash while you're interacting with your dog, it makes a huge difference. That leash will give clear control over the situation, ensuring that your dog doesn't get too excited or reactive. Remember that first training lesson, if you weren't using the leash with your dog, it would be very hard to communicate with your dog. And additionally, you as the trained owner can use your electronic collar with your dog with that new person's commands. And you can pair those up. And this way, they can communicate with your dog just as you do, and that maintains consistency and familiarity on your dog's side because they're feeling low-level stim, they're getting the e-collar, the leash, and the hand commands all in one to make sure that the dog understands it.
The idea is that the more familiar your dog becomes with the equipment and the commands, the easier it will be for any new person to communicate with them. By keeping things structured and consistent, your dog will feel more comfortable with new people, and those people will feel confident in interacting with your dog in a calm and respectful manner.
So just to recap here, when your dog meets new people, the focus is neutrality. It has to be. So allow them time to assess and get comfortable from a distance. And then use obedience commands to create structure and set those clear expectations for that new relationship during that interaction. And then over time, their relationship between your dog and them will turn into that mutual respect and understanding just like it has with you.
And remember, the key is to ensure that the new person can communicate with your dog effectively using the leash or the same equipment that you've been using. This will help your dog feel more at ease and make the whole process of meeting new people much smoother and more successful. Think of it as the dog thinking, well, I'm just playing the same game with the same rules that I've been doing with mom and dad for months or years. Makes it a lot easier for a new person to step in and do the same thing.
Good luck, and we'll see you on the next video.